video. Coming up on ABC, a Bat New Year's Eve special.
It's time for the annual New Year's Day concert from Vienna, when the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra performs popular works of famous Viennese composers, in particular the Strauss family. In the orchestra's 150th year, they're conducted with great vitality by Carlos Kleiber. Tune into the simulcast on ABC FM and relax with this thoroughly enjoyable Sunday stereo special. New Year's Day concert from Vienna, 8:30 Sunday, ABC.
I just want my children.
From the makers of Edge of Darkness, a powerful six-part political thriller,
Your children are not here.
Miranda Richardson, Frederick Forrest, and Derek Foles lead the outstanding cast. Why are so many people concerned
It's about my children.
with this mother's nightmare?
Sell it.
It's my home.
Want your kids back?
Don't miss Die Kinder, 9:30 Saturday, ABC.
It has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
It may not have been the best of years for some, but television's Mr. Horribilius, Clive James, has managed to assemble for immortality the wonderful, witty and embarrassing moments of '92. Who's in for it this time? Whoever they are, start your new year with a laugh in this cheeky look at the people, places and events that shaped our world. There's so much to choose from as Clive James looks back on '92, 8:30 Friday, ABC.
And welcome to this special edition of Backchat in the last half hour of 1992, a year which saw a number of initiatives. For example, 2 new current affairs programs, John Lombard's The World at Noon and Foreign Correspondent with George Negus. Open learning began for adult viewers and young people's programming was augmented with Vidiot and Liftoff. And the distinction between reality and real-life soap opera was forever blurred with Sylvania Waters. Backchat joined the stable of programs captioned with supertext for the hearing impaired, and the nation's nitpickers vied for the honour of winning awards that are indeed to be announced tonight. We will review the pickiest of the picky, 5 winners, with the overall winner announced in the closing moments of 1992. So let's get cracking, and Debbie Murray from Western Australia was puzzled by this photograph.
Nitpick.
You see, in the episode, William revived a drug OD case with an injection and then phoned Julie to tell Steve to come and help.
When Steve arrived, Carl was conscious and sitting on the sofa. When then was this photo taken? I was expecting Carl to have a second overdose because of seeing the picture. Maybe you can give me an explanation.
Not easily, Debbie, and you score this splendid personalised mug from Graham Anderson, the resident potter of Lightning Ridge, and of course, a nitpicker's certificate. Nitpicks notwithstanding, GP had a bumper 1992 examining important social and medical issues. The first program of the year certainly made an impact. A gay doctor came into the practice but was bashed and dead by the end of the first episode.
Far too stereotyped, not constructive.
Most disgusting episode I have ever seen. I will not be watching GP again.
You've gone overboard this time.
I don't mind the gay bit, but the violence is astounding.
This is a very bad portrayal of what gay men are about.
You blew it, ABC. You had a chance to educate people on this subject.
I am very surprised at the violence shown without warning viewers first.
I was also bashed after leaving a gay pub. Hopefully the episode will make a lot of people sit up and take notice that this is a real problem and won't go away until the heterosexual and homosexual community join together to help one another.
One particularly powerful GP story focused on the tragedy of domestic violence.
I am a survivor of this crime and could relate to the character of Jean and the emotional dilemma and constant fear which turned her life into a continuous nightmare.
The story of the impotent mortuary attendant raised a few interesting points.
What's this little number?
Oh, now this is the poor man's prosthesis. It's easy to implant, but it leaves you with a permanent erection.
All that about erections, penile implants and so on had this grey-haired granny red in the face and wondering quite where to put herself. But the witty script, giggle-making subplot and wonderful acting finally made me vote this the most enjoyable and engaging GP for yonks. P.S. Can you ask William Sharp if testosterone is available in liquid form that would be undetectable in cocoa?
Poor old Michael had a rough year hanging on to his quota of testosterone, losing one of his testimonials to testicular cancer. The episode featuring Michael living with an Aboriginal family was very warmly received.
I particularly applaud Ernie Dingo and Justine Saunders. They are able to use their skills as actors and communicators to address the problems of misunderstanding and ignorance between black and white Australians.
On now to documentaries, and a season of Blackout began and ended the year. The program on Archie Roach, The Best Kept Secret, moved many viewers.
I am a white, 45-year-old mother of 2 children, and I can say honestly, am ashamed of what I am discovering about the history of this land that I call home.
A little bit of the pain, a little bit of the hurt, you know? People just look at Aboriginal people and see one thing, you know? They don't know what we've been through. You know? They don't know. And they sit and judge, but they have to know.
Aboriginal Australians also featured in the controversial documentary Cop It Sweet, and the switchboards ran hot.
Gee, dogs. Get off the road or anything.
Redfern 1.
Redfern 1.
It belongs to Wesley John Patton, 26 Garden Street, Alexandria.
That's him.
Expiry 23.
No, that's him driving it, though. Where's he? Is he, coon, is he, or what? Yeah. Am I going to say good day, eh?
Very racist.
Most disturbing.
Absolutely disgusting.
The police arrested a man for using less abusive language than they were using themselves.
Brilliant television.
I felt sorry for the police. They got the raw end of the stick. Fantastic program. Real stuff.
Our switchboard operators were, as usual, the frontline troops for verbal assaults.
A member of the police force inquired if this was the uncut version. I advised him to call back in business hours. He then told me to get f***ed.
Police conversations were regularly punctuated with offensively scatological 4-letter words, and their smug tribal camaraderie was bolstered by even more offensive sexist joke swapping.
What's the difference between a 69er and King Hit? At least with a 69 you see the cunt coming.
Why is it not funny?
I'm in the Air Force, straight over the top of my head.
By the way, you might care to inform the young female constable subjected to the one about 69ers and King Hits that she has good grounds for a sexual harassment case against her foul-mouthed, foul-minded and oafish male colleagues.
The rather better-spoken and cleaner-cut police rescue team was warmly welcomed back to ABC TV.
I must congratulate the ABC for such a brilliant program. The mental trauma that must affect the real members of this squad must be truly hard to deal with.
Epic.
Point of order about police rescue. That young cop's getting his picture taken. He's being interviewed by a bloke who identifies himself as being from the Herald. He says, G'day, mate. I'm from the Herald. Yet the very next day, when they're driving along in the police vehicle, he holds up a copy of the Telegraph Mirror with his picture on the front page.
Merciless. That's what they are. Merciless. However, Les Smith picks up his Nitpickers Award and a personalised Lightning Ridge mug. Moving on, and Phoenix was another police drama, and although well received, there were strong reactions to nudity and crudity. Some were unsporting enough to suggest that the show was put together on a tighter-than-tight budget.
Phoenix is world-class drama. Good casting, scripting and good camera work. But why was 90% of the first 2 episodes taped in a lift?
The trouble with you is you treat forensic like a mail-order bride, something you send for in the post when you get desperate.
Bullshit. Perhaps location expenses are tight. Or is this subtle corporate sponsorship by Otis Elevators?
Wacko. When I saw those actors, one showing his D-I-C-K and his B-U-M, it occurred to me that the producer did not realise how distracting it is from the main story. For example, recently we had a male streaker on our golf course, and the ladies in my foursome were so intent on seeing whether he had a 6-iron or a 7-iron that they completely forgot to look at his face to see who he was.
What the f*** are those people on about complaining about the language on Phoenix? You're kidding. It's a great show, and the language used is just what any person would hear and use every day. It's beyond me why these people continue to listen after the warning about language at the start of the show. If they don't like it, don't watch. It's enough to give you the
I was appalled to see a scene, explicit and close up, in which 2 men were brutally raping a young woman. While I respect the programme's attempt at realism, this level of violence was too much. Exploration of the horror and psychological impact of rape is desirable, but gratuitous images of sexual violence are not.
One of the most controversial documentaries to be screened in 1992 was David Goldie's 2-part series, Without Consent.
The guy who was on top of me just punched me and said, F you bitch. And the other guy just gave me a kick in the side and they walked off. And I was lying there and there's people standing around me.
I greatly admired the women who were brave enough to publicly discuss their terrifying ordeals. However, I found the overall program to be quite disappointing. The fact that the majority of rapes are performed by people known to the victim and their families was mentioned only very briefly.
It should be shown to educators, judges, lawyers, police, politicians, all those in power who have anything to do with the legal system, and the sentences it metes out to offenders of these heinous crimes.
Did any of you become aware of the suffering of that victim that night?
I think all along we were aware of the suffering, but the suffering just highlighted the sexualness of it.
You're having sex? Once you've had your turn, that's it?
I knew I was raping her at the time.
Those revolting rapists being interviewed was about the pits. I could not watch it to the end. I imagined at least 1,000 slimy deviants drooling over the exploits of those sleazers and then going out to do likewise.
I am a sex offender and am taking part in a rehabilitation program, and after seeing Without Consent, found myself in a state of repugnance and wanting to commit suicide because of my own behaviour. I am still a person and have the right to be treated as an individual and not as an animal. I am taking the time out to correct my behaviour. All rapists are not the same. The maze of the mind is so great that we'll never ever fully understand why such things occur.
The theme of improper sexual behaviour perpetrated by none other than the clergy was taken up in another controversial documentary broadcast on the religious affairs program Compass. It was titled The Ultimate Betrayal.
Not an easy topic to tackle. I have wondered for many years how long it would take before these practices were brought out in the open and discussed. It is far more common than the churches would like to think. The church has a duty of care to respond to the needs of women and men who have been victims of sexual abuse by the clergy. The trauma and guilt suffered by the innocent party cannot be swept under the carpet as an embarrassment to the church.
Embarrassment was experienced by a number of viewers who found it extremely hard to deal with the British-made series on male sexuality, From Wimps to Warriors.
This program is utter garbage.
It promotes thuggery. Shame, ABC.
I protest strongly at having pornography in my lounge room.
Bloody fantastic. Absolute shit.
Disgusting.
Then you've got the third part of it, if you like, the punishment, where Mercedes would push and push and push, whinge and whinge and whinge, until I eventually take her and put her on my knee and give her a good spanking. And it's punishment, maybe, but it's contrived by her, for me, to do to her.
It was all too much, Mr. Bowden. I am not a prude. I think Andrew Denton should be knighted. But please, Auntie, leave this sort of manure for SBS.
What can we expect in the next segments? Bestiality? Necrophilia? Or would that be flogging a dead horse?
I wish people would leave the bad puns to me, but now 'tis time for the big one, the show that took Australia by storm, whether you liked it or not, Sylvania Waters.
All I'm saying is...
You can cut it out right now.
If you've invited 37 people here and they're all going to bring friends, you can't bring friends.
You sit down right now. For God's sake, he can have a bloody birthday.
Of course he can, but he's just saying it. They're all...
It is a sociologist's dream. The program is supposed to portray a typical Australian family, but I would go further and say it typifies families the world over.
Truth, Laurie, one of these days I'll pack me bloody bags and I'm going out of here. Truly. There's more drama living in this house than living out of it.
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I asked my Londoner cousin what would the Brits think of Sylvania Waters when it is screened by the BBC. He said they will be livid with jealousy.
It will surely convey that average Australians are unintelligent, arrogant bigots. It is beyond my understanding as to what interest such a mediocre, vulgar and blatantly racist family could have for ABC viewers.
Because they don't speak English, they think you don't know. I had a man that walked out, a waiter, that came into our room with a cup of tea, and I didn't have any change. Laurie was in the shower. And I turned around to this guy and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I said, I've got no change. And he went, all but spat at me. Did he? Little. Wouldn't employ another one. I mean, they should go back to their own country and stay there.
Granted, the pompous, self-important, pretentious Nolly and Laurie, the original role model of the great Australian drongo, together with their horrible, bleating offspring, represent all that is obnoxious, boorish, ignorant, venal, repulsive and ugly. However, they do act as living proof that money can't buy class, culture or even basic intelligence. The family is a national artistic treasure, a living, breathing theatre of the absurd.
Please, ABC, spare us any more episodes of this show and drown it in the waters of Sylvania. P.S. The dog with the sunglasses was the only redeeming part of the show.
More drama now, and The Leaving of Liverpool must rank as one of the year's outstanding productions.
The ABC has done it again. The Leaving of Liverpool was quite simply brilliant. Even better than Brides of Christ.